Hi, I'm Cassie, host of the Curiosity Junkie podcast and the Love and Healing podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the subscribe button to follow us and receive new episodes each week. If you really enjoy the podcast and you're feeling generous, please hit the donate button. We work hard to create original content and keep the podcast ad-free. Today's guest is an Ayahuasca ceremony leader. These ceremonies can lead to deep, transformative work, allowing you to align with who you truly are. Please welcome Demi Faraday to the podcast.
All right. Hi, Demi. How you doing?
Hi, Cassie. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having us on today. It's really an honor, and I'm really happy that you asked us to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, this is Demi Faraday and her partner, Brian. We are going to jump in and talk about ayahuasca, the ceremony process, and then a little bit about hypnotherapy, because that's something else that you do as well, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. So I heard about ayahuasca through my friend Richard, who has been to several of your ceremonies. And he said it was a beautiful experience. Anything that kind of touches on spirituality, I love to dive into. So talk to me a little bit about ayahuasca, what it is, the ceremony process. Let's just jump in and help me understand it all.
Yes, absolutely. So ayahuasca it's called an ayahuasca tea, and it is originally from the Amazon region in South America, and it is comprised of the Ayahuasca Vine and then a DMT containing plant. In South America, it is typically chacruna. However, there are different plants that also have DMT in them: acacia, Syrian rue, Mimosa hostilis. So whatever the DMT plant is, that is brewed with the ayahuasca vine. And the brewing process itself can take several days, and it's a continual boiling and reduction until you get this kind of thick tea that does not taste very good. It tastes sort of like the drinking something off the floor of the forest. Oh. and the ayahuasca vine itself is called the vine of the souls, or vine of the dead. And so the vine itself contains the information, and Mother Ayahuasca is considered to be a master plant teacher. And then she has the information, and then the chacruna plant, or DMT containing plant, has the DMT that takes your rational mind offline, and it allows you to enter into an altered state of consciousness and interdimensional awareness. And once you are in that interdimensional state, that's where the vine shares her wisdom. And the wisdom is all about you. It's about each individual, but it is also about us as a collective and how we as the human race are part of a larger ecosystem of the plants, of the insects, of the animals, the sky, the clouds, the rain, everything that comprises our ecosystem. And so that is the tea itself. And when you drink that, it can take about an hour or so to kick in. Some people, it comes on faster. With me, it'll usually come in on about 10 to 15, 20 minutes. Wow. And then once you are in that state, that's where the teaching begins. And she goes directly to you. So she will go and meet you exactly where you are, and whatever it is that you need to align more fully with yourself, that's where she starts. Mm-hmm. So if you have sort of issues, you may be dealing with anxiety, trust issues, past experiences, past traumas, PTSD, etc., she will take you to those places where you can look. When you're more of an objective viewer rather than a subjective experiencer. So if, for example, you have a trauma, she will take you back to that trauma if that's where you need to start. You won't relive it. You won't experience the trauma of that trauma, but you will be able to see it more from an objective perspective and realize how different patterns have accrued in your life over that, based around that trauma. And she will show you how those patterns have become reinforced. And then she'll show you tools that you can also use and employ in your daily life to work through those patterns when they get triggered or when they start to come up. Now, for people who are coming in and they are just working through maybe some other issues, same thing. She'll take you to, she can take you to a reflective space where you can look at these objectively and think, oh, well, this is where I need to change. And this is where I need to come more into alignment with who I am, not necessarily who I think I am or who I want to be or who I'm trying to be or who society or anyone else is telling me who I need to be, but who I truly am. And that's the beauty of it, because in ayahuasca, there are no lies. There are no masks. There are no deceptions. She's like, boom, she will just take you right there. And it is very powerful because, you know, we all tend to have things in our own personal growth and human evolution that we consider to be maybe a little less desirable. And we're not so proud to own up and say, hey, you know what, guess what? I'm full of fear. Or guess what? I'm extremely jealous right now. Or, you know, we don't sit there and talk about these things because they're considered maybe a little more negative. Mm-hmm. And these are all part of the energy and it's all part of being human. So whatever it is we need to address, that's what we need to address. Right. And to kind of circle back around to the question about ceremonies, the ceremonies usually last anywhere from 4.5 to 6 hours. It really just depends on how soon everybody starts coming out of their journey and their experience. But it's basically the whole time is music. So we do a compilation right now. We do over half of our ceremonies are live music and singing. And then we do have some pre-recorded music in there as well. And everything is tailored to the vibration of what's happening. Every single group is different. Every person is different. So it's always a new kaleidoscope that's happening and all these different pieces and energies. And I just kind of sit with the flow of it, feel the energies and feel what needs to happen next. Do we have to do singing bowls next? Do we have to do drumming next? Do we have to play this song with this vibration next? So it's all very specifically tailored, intuitive, and very much improvised based on what's happening in the energy of the room.
Right. So something you said when you were kind of talking about the plant and the experience. So it sounds like it's more of a like getting out of your own way kind of experience, being able to maybe, I don't know. I don't want to say shut the brain off, but that chatter that's constantly going, is it kind of like being able to step outside of that and really look at things?
Yes, ideally it is. Ideally, it's about being able to step outside of it and look at it. However, there are some people who will come in and they have some control issues and they get in the medicine and they find out, oh, no, I really don't like this. Can you make it end? And we say, no, we can't.
Really sorry.
It's going to go on for a little while. So
is it considered a psychedelic?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. DMT in ayahuasca, it's considered the most powerful psychedelic on the planet. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yes. Because I did a conversation with a gal on psilocybin mushrooms as a spiritual experience as well. And she has some really great advice. So I'm going to kind of ask you, before someone goes into a ceremony with you and the ayahuasca, is there like a pre-mindset that you want to be in? Do you have classes or conversations prior to going into the experience?
Yes, well, we do actually have a health and wellness form that we ask people to fill out, and that just lets us know if they're taking medications, vitamins, pharmaceuticals, because some of those things are contraindicated with ayahuasca. You can't take antidepressants and drink ayahuasca. Right. That can lead to serotonin syndrome, which can be just an overload of serotonin in your brain, and that can be dangerous. So we also ask them certain psychological things. Have they ever been diagnosed with mania, bipolar, schizophrenia, anything like that? Because there are also certain conditions like that are it's not good to take this. For example, if you're schizophrenic and you take something like this, it can really just further sort of shatter your perceptions in an unhealthy way. Were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just saying, you know, you could suffer from a psychotic break and find yourself sort of stuck in this alternate reality.
It's not something to be taken lightly. It
Absolutely.
is, right. It is a serious experience, and it should be done with someone who is knowledgeable and can kind of help you facilitate the full experience.
Absolutely. Ideally, they have been trained. I was trained by a very highly regarded shaman in the Amazon back in 2014. And your person you're sitting with should be trained. They should also be experienced. They should be experienced in having done their own healing thoroughly and completely. Mm-hmm. And they should be experienced in having been a participant in many ceremonies, 5 ceremonies. And then someone decides to pour, probably not the best idea. Yeah. And even 20. I mean, I've done hundreds and hundreds of ceremonies, and a lot of those. I've
participated in well over 200 ceremonies, and I wouldn't consider myself qualified to pour.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. You have to have a combination of experience, because people can have reactions and people can enter into states. And as a facilitator and ceremony leader, you have to know how to handle those. Right. Otherwise, it's not good for you, and it's certainly not good for the participant. You have to have experience with it for sure. And 10 or 20 ceremonies really, in my opinion, isn't going to cut it. You need to have years of experiencing, integrating, training, understanding. Yeah. So
a lot of that is learning to navigate the landscape of this medicine, and there's a lot of intuition involved, and some people have that ability and some people don't. It's just the reality of it. Some people can operate in that dimension very competently, and other people can't. But circling back to what your question was, is there, beyond the psychological sort of questions we ask in a health form that we fill out, there is a dieta that goes along prior to attending ceremony. And the short version is no salt, no fat, no sugar, no sex. You know, it's very much about cleansing your body, getting ready for this experience. So people will start to experience the medicine before they even ingest it through this process of cleaning yourself out, so to speak, but you're also always aware of the reason why you're doing that. And everybody comes into ceremony with a little bit of apprehension, because every experience is different. I've done this hundreds of times, and no two have been the same. And there are certain things I can come to expect, but I'm very pragmatic about my approach to this. I look at it from the scientific perspective. You know, we have our pineal gland, which releases DMT while we're asleep, and that's why we have these vivid dreams while we sleep. You get 2 floods of DMT in your lifetime. You get a flood of DMT at 6 weeks in the womb. And as you're transitioning out of this life, so you hear a lot of people with near-death experiences talk about their life flashing before their eyes. That's that flood of DMT. And what's happening is it's throwing open all the doors and windows in your subconscious. And all this stuff, even minutia that you think has no meaning, comes to the forefront. And all of a sudden, you're looking at it through this analytical lens, and you start to understand why it's there and what its meaning is. The beautiful thing about the work we do is we get to listen to other people's experiences as well. And there's some common things that happen, some recurring sort of themes with people's experiences, but they're very basic, like a connection to nature, a feeling of forgiveness, a heart opening, if you will. And then beyond that, it becomes a very personal experience. And as we work with this medicine, you know, it's very much a relationship between the participant and the medicine. And we're here not to interfere, but to guide. And it's very important. We don't interject ourselves into your experience unless you request it, of course. But typically 99.9% of people that come don't need any assistance at all. They're very capable of navigating this experience.
Part of that too, Cassie, is the preparation that you were mentioning, is that we have conversations with people on the phone after we've read their forms. We ask them their intention. We ask them what it is they're looking to achieve from entering into this type of experience. Mm-hmm. And when they come, they are ideally prepared with the dieta, with the mindset. And so they come prepared. And one of the things we emphasize again and again and again is do not have any fear. Apprehension, sure, because you just don't know. If you've never experienced, you have no idea what this is going to do. But no fear, no fear. When we're in ceremony, we are sitting up, we're awake, we're paying attention, we're reading the energy. And if somebody runs into some type of energetic obstacle, we will definitely be over to work with them and help them through that and move past that and get back into their journey. But fear is one of the biggest things with people. And we just, again, we say over and over, have no fear, because it's just yourself you're confronting, and it's just yourself you're looking at.
Yes. And I could see that keeping a lot of people from wanting to kind of dive into the experience, because sometimes we really are pushing down because we don't want to come face to face with that thing that keeps us from really living our best life.
Yeah, absolutely. This medicine illuminates two hemispheres in your brain. The beauty of it is it's a balance, and the trauma may come up in one hemisphere, whereas the other hemisphere gives you this very analytical lens to look at it, almost like you're shielded from it, and it gives you new perspectives on old things. But the payoff on the backside is immense. To sit through maybe what some people might consider 4 or 5 hours of mild discomfort and have these amazing results on the backside, small price to pay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that, because it's in the hard work, the coming to healing or letting go or whatever the thing is that's keeping you from really, I consider it living your best life. If you don't address it and work through that, it's just going to stay there, and you're always going to be crippled by it a little bit. So the benefit is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You have to get there. Yes.
Right. And I say this to people all the time. You'll come out of this experience with some new tools in your toolbox, but it's up to you to get them out and learn how to use them. And processing, I can't stress enough the importance of processing the experience that you have. It's very, very important to pay attention to those things. What may seem very abstract at the time starts to come in focus in the following days and weeks. And if you're willing to pay attention to it and do the work associated with it, the results are absolutely remarkable.
Right.
People that have carried around traumas and stresses and dark memories, and to watch that get lifted from them is just an amazing experience. We're so blessed that we get to witness this. And I say that all the time to our participants. I thank them. I'm so grateful for allowing me to witness your healing. We have just seen transformations that they're just unbelievable.
Well, and we had, there was a lady who came once, and after her first experience, she had come in with a pretty serious case of PTSD, and she didn't really delve into what the cause of that was, and so I don't ever pry, because again, that's the work that she's going to do directly with the medicine. Right. I'll be shown things in the medicine that I need to know. If I don't need to know it, I'm not going to see it. But if it is something that I do need to know and something I can help with, then I will be shown that. And anyway, so she came in, and the next morning she sat up, and I said, "How are you doing today?" And she says, she just had this big bright smile on her face, and she goes, "Oh my gosh," she goes, "Demi, my PTSD is it's gone." She said, "I keep looking for it. I keep trying to feel that. Where is it? And it's just not here anymore." And so when I followed up with her, several weeks and several months later, she was the same. She said, Demi, it was amazing. It was just gone. Now I certainly don't ever guarantee a result like that. If anybody who comes to us with PTSD, it's going to depend on what that cause of that was, what the sustained patterns around surviving and coping with that were. But it's possible, it's possible for people to come in and have healings like that. So
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And we get a big cross section of people. We've had quite a bit of military through, and we love them. We know why they're here, and their discipline comes through in the medicine, and they have great results. We've had law enforcement, believe it or not. We've had clergy. We've had first responders of every sort come, and all have positive experiences that they've allowed them this perspective, this different perspective on things, and allow them to put things into focus. But the most important thing for Demi and I to do is to sit here and to listen to the medicine. The medicine is telling us what to do as well. And it's just been the most gratifying experience of my life to participate in these. It really has. And it's truly been an honor.
I'm curious, what brought you to even going into that experience? Like, what introduced you to ayahuasca?
I'll tell you, it's kind of a long story, but I'm going to try to condense it for you. And basically, I had first heard about ayahuasca back in 95 when I was living in Chicago. That's where I'm originally from. And a friend of mine was doing shamanic drumming and working with this lady. And so I thought, oh, that's really great. She said, why don't you come? So I went, and journeying to a shamanic drum and finding that altered space and going in to find answers. I entered into it just like that. Shamanic drumming and journeying was so easy for me. I was actually a little astonished at how easy it was, but I kept on with it because I thought it was so interesting. And then she said, hey, we're doing this thing. There's this shaman coming from Peru. They're going to do an ayahuasca ceremony. And I thought, well, I don't know that I'm quite ready for that, but I tucked it back in the corner of my brain. And I said, yeah, not now, but someday. So then about 14 years later, it just bubbled up, and it was like, now's the time. And so I spent about a year and a half researching everything I could on ayahuasca, reading all the different books, getting on Facebook, finding different groups, so that I knew it wasn't going to short circuit my brain, that I wasn't going to get addicted, that I wasn't going to become some sort of, dysfunctional whatever vegetable in my head. And so, and taking substances has never been anything for me ever. Like, it's never been a go-to, and I've never done it. And my friends used to joke, they would be like, what, Demi, you don't even drink, and you're going to go take the most powerful hallucinogenic on the planet in some jungle in South America? And I said, yeah, I guess I am. I guess that is what I'm going to do. And so I went and did that. And truth be told, I got some physical healings, but I did not enjoy the experience. I wanted to leave the retreat early. The shaman would take me aside and say, well, you really should stay. And I said, I really just kind of, want pizza and coffee right now. And so can I please just take the bus back into town? And he's like, no, you really should just stay through the whole thing. And I said, well, okay. Anyway, I did several ceremonies there. Did get things that upon later reflection realized how much more I had actually gotten. But because I had been reading all of these stories about visuals and interdimensionals and all of this, and I didn't get any of that, I thought, well, maybe it just didn't work for me, and maybe this isn't my thing. But she ended calling me back. Mother Ayahuasca ended up calling me back through a friend of mine. And I went to another ceremony, and it was a very completely different style of ceremony. And I really loved it. And I loved the people who were leading it. And I had such great experiences. And for the next 7 or 8 years, I was as a participant doing these journeys. And the 7th ceremony that I had, halfway through my journey, Mother Ayahuasca, I hear this voice says, your journey's done. Your healing is done for tonight. Now sit up and pay attention and watch what's going on, because you're going to be leading ceremonies someday. And I just thought, what? No, I'm not. Thank you, but no. And then, but I'll watch and learn anyway. And so I did that, and Mother Ayahuasca was kind of like, okay. And then a couple ceremonies after that, same thing. I'm going through my journey. All of a sudden it ends, and she says, you're done for tonight. Your healing for tonight is complete. Now sit up, watch what's going on and pay attention because you're going to be leading ceremonies. And I thought, really, with all due respect, Mother Ayahuasca, I'm flattered that you feel that I could do this, but I don't feel called to do this at all. But thank you. I will watch and learn. And then several more years went by. And then Brian, we had found a training program in the Peruvian Amazon, and I had applied for that and hadn't heard back. And I thought, oh, well, see, so this is just a confirmation I'm not meant to be doing this. And Brian goes, well, try again, try again. And so I did try again, and they answered my application, and I got accepted into working with this shaman. His name is Don Enrique Lopez, and he's wonderful. I just adore him. And went down, did the training program, came back, thought, well, now what? And then I started working with a group for about 6 months. And then it became very clear to me that I needed to be leading my own ceremonies, and that the time was now, and the time was right. And that's what I did. And we started off, with, bless Richard for being really one of our first participants in that. Oh, and, he was just so supportive, and his energy was so beautiful. And it started small, and Brian and I always agreed we would do this organically. And, it grew from, 2 people once a month to 4 people once a month to 6 people once a month. And then it started growing to twice a month and 3 times a month, and doing, officially what we're talking about here are our ceremonies in Rocky Point, Mexico, where it is legal. Right. And it's just grown exponentially from there. And again, one of the best things about this, Cassie, has just been the people that we have met. And we meet you. We're meeting you because of this.
Yes.
But we would never otherwise meet all of these people from all walks of life and all different experiences. We would never have met them otherwise.
Right.
So for me, that's one of the biggest, most beautiful things about this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what brought me to it.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I do the podcast. Is there's a great quote. It's the opposite of what you know is also true. And that kind of opened up my mind a little bit to realize I've only been taught what I know by people who've only been taught what they know, and just the cycle is on. So we have this cultural conditioning to believe or fear certain things. And I'm so set on helping people kind of open up their mind and see that just because you've been told to fear something, it doesn't mean that you should fear it. And this psychedelics is one of them. The psychedelics can be so beneficial to people, and certain people. Not everybody's going to have a great experience, and that's with anything in life. But there's so much good that can be found through psychedelics.
To take it out of the party atmosphere and really give reverence to the experience.
Yes.
I think that's very, very important to say. This is nothing anybody's doing for fun.
No.
There's psychedelics that cross that line and do go into that sort of party mode.
Right.
But the thing about this experience, and like I said, I'm very pragmatic about it. I look at the science of it, but there is this intersection of science and spirit that's absolutely unexplainable. And that's where you surrender, and that's where you learn. And that's that word surrender is very much a part of what we do here. And it's critical that coming to these experiences that you're willing to surrender.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, we have, and again, the surrender is the important thing, because once you're able to surrender, you're able to open up, and you're able to be in your own healing and in this beautiful interaction with this master plant teacher. And until you surrender, you're not surrendering, and you have to surrender in order to do it. And so sometimes people can go into, I call it performance mode, right? Where they feel like they have to be doing something, or sending Reiki, or doing energy work on other people. And it's like, get back in your own space, mentally, physically, spiritually, whether you're laying back, whether you're sitting up, be still, surrender, and receive. Because the minute you're doing anything else, especially with DMT, with or 5-MeO DMT, any of those are the ones that you must transcend your ego. And the minute you start doing these other things, that's your ego. That's your ego trying to manipulate and control a situation, trying to make that situation bend to what you think it should be. When the key is you need to surrender to what the mother ayahuasca, to what mother ayahuasca is teaching you and giving you. You need to receive, and you can't do that if you're doing all of this, I mean, we have had people here, and it just is one of those things where we have to go up and sit them down and say, just sit, just receive. And, sometimes people can do that and get beyond that, and sometimes they can't, but it's all about transcending the ego with it. Yeah.
So do you think that it would be benefit, say someone's going to go through the ceremony, do you think there's a benefit to, I'm a huge fan of journaling prior to, and then the experience, and then journaling afterwards, to kind of, because I think you're going to get, like you were saying, messages, tools, and is it a benefit to kind of put that on paper?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of journaling for any reason. And journaling before, it just helps you kind of collect your thoughts, maybe organize your thoughts. We have people come to ceremonies and they bring their journals with them, and they think they're going to be writing during ceremonies. And, I always kind of chuckle a little bit. I'm like, okay, well, keep your journal handy. And, they never do. They will afterwards, right? When they're a little more grounded, and definitely doing it afterwards is beneficial as well. But it's always very helpful to journal, And
it's also helpful to talk about the experience with your fellow participants. This is a strange fraternity we have here, and nobody else is really going to understand unless they've been there. And it's really important to discuss your experience afterwards. It helps sort of set it in reality a little bit. It also helps you remember it. But I honestly believe that the kernels that you need to retain, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, definitely.
Mama put them there, and you're going to work with them.
Absolutely. And part of the ceremony afterwards, the next morning, when everybody's out of the medicine and we've had some soup and refreshments and things, we do have a share portion of our ceremony, and that gives everybody the opportunity to speak a little bit about their journey. And nobody's ever obligated to speak. Nobody's pressured to say anything. If they want to keep it all to themselves, that's great. We encourage that too, if that's where they're coming from. But oftentimes when people share parts of their experience, it really resonates with the other participants. And they think, oh yes, I feel the same, or my father, mother, sister, brother, friend, etc. They're going through the same thing. And so it's a very insightful process, but speaking it out also helps ground that experience into your daily reality. And then you can process what was given to you, what was told to you, and then you can begin to integrate any kind of information, tools, pattern changes, etc. after that. So we place a strong emphasis on the processing and integration as well.
Yeah. Well, let's say someone's interested in having an ayahuasca experience and going through the ceremony. What ways can they connect with you? And are you guys able to do them during COVID and all of what we're in right now?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. And I'm actually really glad you asked that, because back in, I think it was last March, when the state shut down for COVID and they didn't open back up until mid-May, we respected that. We totally respected that. Once they opened us back up in May, we started doing it with, we usually normally do 10 participants. We like to keep it small. That's just how I personally prefer to work. And we cut it in half from there. So when we opened back up again, we cut in half to 5 or 6 participants, just to be on the safe side. We would feel terrible if something had happened to someone as a result of coming and being in a group of people. But, we also said to people, make sure you take your temperature, make sure you're not sick, make sure you're feeling well, etc. And then after that, once it looked like things were getting back to normal, we began, kind of getting back up to having 7, 8, 9 people in ceremony again. And we have never had anybody in this last year come down with anything. I follow up with people in emails after ceremonies and check in and see how they're doing. I don't just sort of give someone this experience and then go, hey, you're on your own.
Yeah. See ya.
So the COVID thing was very interesting, and yeah, we complied with what they were suggesting.
So if someone does want to attend one of your ceremonies, how do they connect with you?
The name of our website is Urban Icaros, and it's ICAROS, Urban, URBAN. So www.urbanicaros.com. And also on Facebook, we have a page called Urban Icaros. And the Icaros are the sacred songs given to the shamans by the plants, which are the healing songs used during ceremonies. That's what an Icaro is. And so they can either reach out on Facebook or through our website.
All right. And remind me again, where do you do your ceremonies?
We do them in Mexico.
Okay. Yeah.
In Rocky Point. We also do private sessions with people and one-on-ones.
I love it. I love it. Let's briefly talk about, I know you do some hypnotherapy as well. So I wanted to touch on that because I think that's fascinating as well. What brought you to that? And what do you have a practice that is up and running today?
I do actually, yes. So hypnotherapy was something that I got my hypnotherapy training. I'm professionally trained and certified through Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, and also through the National Association of Therapeutic Hypnotists. And so I am certified, and I have my sessions with people as they come up. We work on all sorts of things. Hypnotherapy came to me because I started listening to things on YouTube, and I thought, wow, that's beautiful. What an amazing healing process. And it's something that can be psychedelic-like in the way that it takes your rational mind offline and allows your subconscious to come to the surface. And that's where you can make the hypnotic suggestions. So if you want to lose weight, if you want to quit smoking, if you want to change your diet or just relax or ease your anxiety, hypnotherapy is really wonderful for that. And so, so when I do my sessions, they're usually about an hour long, and I've had really great results with those as well. And if people want to reach me for hypnotherapy, they can actually just go to my Facebook page, which is Demi Faraday. That's the name I'm under, Demi Faraday, and they can just request hypnotherapy information. I have a website called roots2recovery.com. And that's my dedicated hypnotherapy page as well. So either way.
Okay, fantastic. And I did look at that, and I think that the mind is a powerful thing, and it can be used in amazing ways that we haven't really realized yet. So I love it when people are tapping into awakening a different section or piece or part of the brain. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree. I love that you use the word awakening, and that is what's happening. There is an awakening happening on an exponential level, and it is just accelerating faster and faster and faster with each passing day. And I love to see that because, we need to all collectively get into a much more positive space with what we're doing with our spirits and our lives here. And as I tell people during ceremony, your connection with the divine can never be broken, ever. We are always connected to divine. We just have to open up to that.
Yes, I love that. That's beautiful. And that might just be a great place for us to wrap up. I will put all of the ways to connect with Demi Faraday in the description from YouTube. If you're looking to connect for hypnotherapy or want to participate in an ayahuasca ceremony, please reach out to Demi and Brian. And I think that's a great place to wrap up, Demi.
Oh, Cassie, thank you so much for having
nice
us on here. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to share, a little bit of what we know. And this is such a vast field, and it's just burgeoning, and psychedelics are so tremendously healing. And thank you so much for having us on to share what little we know.
Thank you guys for coming on, sharing your knowledge and your wisdom. And to all of you out there, thank you for tuning in, listening, or watching. Stay safe, stay curious, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the subscribe button to follow us and receive new episodes each week. If you really enjoy the podcast and you're feeling generous, please hit the donate button. We work hard to create original content and keep the podcast ad-free.